The Los Angeles Chargers suffered a tough loss on Monday Night Football, but they get to host the New Orleans Saints, who are struggling with the injury bug here in Week 8. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down this Week 8 matchup between the New Orleans Saints and Los Angeles Chargers. But before we get into that, if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think is going to win this game and why. We have a goal of getting to 100 new subscribers for these Week 8 prediction videos we have going out, and any help is greatly appreciated. So, Ryan, we're recording this game right after the Monday Night Football game between the Chargers and the Cardinals. Really fun game. It was neat to see the Chargers kind of air it out a little bit. Cardinals defense statistically hasn't been that great all year, but they actually played pretty well. And so neat seeing Justin Herbert starting to make some more connections with Vlad McConkey, Sammy Fioco, and then also Will Deasley as well, and Josh Palmer.
Sammy Fioco.
I was close enough. Sorry. I'm horrible with names. If this is your first time here, I'm horrible at pronunciating. Is by no means intentional, but make fun of me in the comments. But weren't able to pull it out here. Couldn't get the ball into the end zone. Dicker the kicker had 5 field goals. So if he was on your fantasy team, he did really well. They are going to be fortunate enough. They're going up against probably the second most banged up team in the NFL, only behind the Cleveland Browns. The New Orleans Saints are dealing just with a mess of injuries. There's going to be some potential good news that we'll talk about here just from the reporting that's coming out. But in general, though, Derek Carr still looking like he's going to be out. Rashid Shaheed had season-ending knee surgery. Paulson Debo suffered a gruesome knee injury in Week 7. Marshawn Lattimore also had a hamstring injury that they're going to be monitoring. But hamstrings typically
Paulson Debo broke his femur, actually. He didn't.
Oh, he broke his femur. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's even way worse. Holy cow.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's doing okay. And so I hope he has a safe recovery overall. So I misread that. My apologies. But then on top of that, though, too, they've been dealing with multiple offensive line injuries. Chris Olave was out with the last game with a concussion. So hopefully he is back as well. Just anything that could really go wrong for the Saints team that came out hot out of the gate has gone wrong. And so I want to throw it over to you. What do you think of just the Chargers overall throughout this season so far? And then also kind of what Spencer Rattler and the Saints should expect and try and do going into this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers have been much better than I thought. I thought they were going to have a severe lack of talent on the offensive side of the ball. They did do a good job, I think, of beefing up this offensive line, getting Joe Alt. I did have some qualms about flipping him from left tackle to right tackle, but that's a little bit of the purist in me. So all in all, I think this Chargers team, they play good defense. They don't really hurt themselves on offense. And like, that's kind of how they want to win games. They kind of wait for you to make a mistake and then they capitalize. Whereas the Saints, they came out in the first couple of weeks and were just this high flying offense that was just like lighting teams up in the first couple of weeks. But since then, they've had some injuries. This offense has slowed down. Now Derek Carr is out, and Rashid Shaheed is out as well, kind of their deep threat. It's just been a rough season so far for the Saints. You can still kind of see some of the coaching mentalities that Dennis Allen has kind of instilled down there. And like, they still look like a well-coached team. They just look like a team that is playing with all their backups right now. Yeah. And that's kind of that's just frustrating as a whole from a fan and like a player perspective. So it's just been a rough season after the first couple of weeks for the Saints. Maybe they can get back on track here, but this is again a Chargers team that I think is going to come in. They're not going to beat themselves, and they have more talent right now, more healthy talent than the Saints do. So
yeah. When it comes to the Saints, I think the biggest thing for me, kind of their downfall, is they started to get some pretty serious injuries on the offensive line. Their center, Eric McCoy, got hurt. Cesar Ruiz also got hurt as well and have missed the past several weeks. So, but it does seem like that they are on track to potentially play Week 8, if not Week 9 or Week 10 here in the near distant future. And they really need them to come back. So I think that's been the biggest downfall, and even before Derek Carr got hurt as well. But it affected their overall pass protection as well for Derek Carr to make his reads and kind of go through his progression of hitting Olave, their possession guy, Rashid Shaheed, who is their deep threat guy. They don't have anymore for the season. But I also think, too, it really limited Alvin Kamara's effectiveness overall, because they started to put a couple more guys in the box as those injuries started to get up, started to provide a lot more pressure, knowing that the offensive line just wasn't going to be able to handle it. And I think one of the best things about this offense when it was clicking really well is Rashid Shaheed. You always had to watch for the deep threat with his speed. And then Chris Olave was a possession guy. And you always then had to check down in Alvin Kamara, who's one of the probably the best receiving back in the league. Or I'll say one of the best receiving backs in the league. I would say Christian McCaffrey, when healthy, or Saquon Barkley might be the best. Bijan's up there too, actually. So he's up there as one of the better ones in the league. And so, but when an offensive line started to go away, definitely started to take away a lot of that time for their plays to develop. So getting that offensive line healthy is going to be huge, especially going up against a Chargers defense, which has been pretty solid throughout this season as well. And so one thing the Saints did sign Marquez Valdez-Scantling as well to hopefully try and replace Rashid Shaheed. So curious to see how he develops and adds to the team. On the flip side, the Chargers, as I said, Justin Herbert started to air it out. He had 349 passing yards tonight, by far the most he's had on the season, and spread it around to a lot of guys. Will Dissly, as I said, Josh Palmer, Ladd McConkey, Simi Fehoko.
Simi Fehoko. Yeah.
Simi Fehoko. Perfect. All right. Yeah. I apologize if I mispronounced that again, but Simi Fehoko as well. So going to be curious to see if they continue to kind of go down that realm, start to air it out more, or if they try to go back to their running ways because they didn't have a good running game tonight, and watch a lot of that Broncos film, who just dominated the Saints in the rushing department. Typically, that's been the Chargers' bread and butter, but they weren't able to do that, kind of shockingly, actually, against the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, and that to me, I think this is going to be a get back in rhythm type game, I feel like, for the Chargers. And not to like jump into predictions, but I just think the Chargers, Quentin Johnson was out with an ankle injury. It looks like he's expected to be healthy by Sunday and be able to go. Like, I think that adds another level to this passing attack. I think you look with injuries to Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo, like how does that secondary shape up? And Marshawn Lattimore's hamstring injury is expected to be minor. However, we saw Mike Evans on Monday night. He had a minor hamstring injury that kind of progressed into what looked to be like a severe hamstring injury. So you just kind of have to monitor those situations. Do they err on the side of caution with him? And so like that for me, I think everything is just kind of leaning in the Chargers' favor. I think they get this running game back on track. Joey Bosa also missed the Monday night game and is also expected to be healthy by Sunday to go against the Saints as well, where he was out with a hip injury. So like that's just one more pass rusher that this banged up Saints offensive line has to worry about. If Spencer Rattler is in, like that is him and Khalil Mack on either side of you is terrifying. So that's going to be a really big X factor there. Some of the injuries for the Chargers if they can play, but even without them, I still feel like they're the healthier team coming into this game. So I'm going to go with the Chargers.
I'm also going to go with the Chargers here as well. I think the Saints just have just a lot of figuring out to do. Actually, not even figuring out. It's just I think they know what the problem is. Is they just have a lot of just have to give it a lot of time to just go and get healthy. And waiting for some of their key players to come back. Chargers on the flip side, though, I'm curious to see how this offense progresses, especially too with this receiving room as well, who's younger and inexperienced and maybe not the most talented, but I think that they're a really well-coached team. Justin Herbert's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. We saw tonight. Now, of course, the Cardinals' defense is not that good. Also, Sean Murphy-Bunting went out the game pretty early as well. But so one major player they don't have to worry about in the Cardinals' defense. But one potentially can see them airing the ball out a little bit more. If they're able to do that and then get back to their running game and how effective that running game is, this offense could take major steps forward in the second half of the season. So, but we'll have to wait and see. This Week 8 matchup will be interesting seeing how both these teams bounce back from their Week 7 losses.
Yeah. So we're both taking the Chargers here. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. It is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead. Will it be the Los Angeles Chargers? Will it be the New Orleans Saints? And on that, we'll see you guys next time.